Welcome to the Sega Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things Sega, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for Sega. And learn about people's passion for Sega we will. Hello, welcome to the Sega Lounge, episode 202. Hello, people on Twitch. Hello, people listening in on Radio Sega. My name is Casey, as it says here, and I'm the host. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode. This one is live, which we have been doing for the past few months, doing like at least one live episode every month. And thank you very much for joining. Rafsik says, "Oh, this is live." Yes, it is. It is live. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for joining, Rafsik. Thank you, Resident ST. We have, look, in the comments, SkillJim saying hello. Hello, SkillJim. Yeah. But
oh my God, SkillJim.
Oh my God! Lime reverse.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just interrupted everything and put the spotlight on me. I was just like, oh my God, SkillJim, long time no see.
That's true.
It's
That's
no
true.
time long see. It was just
we just joined, and we chatted for a little bit. Yeah. Speaking of which, Lime, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Okay. How is you?
I'm great.
May I ask you a question, Casey?
You may
ask you a question.
You may.
Are you wearing a new ring, or is this the first time I've just noticed it?
My ring, my wedding ring? No, it's been there for the past 13 years.
So this is the first time I've noticed it. I don't know. It's just I was like, oh my God,
a football player, score a goal and no, maybe not. Maybe not. That's not the best way. No, I don't know. Yeah, but it's the same ring since the day I married. So yeah. Cool. Thank you for noticing, though. Thank you for noticing. Yeah. Welcome, Lime. On that note,
thank you.
Welcome to the Sega Lounge. Very nice to have you here. Yes. We also have.
Very nice to be here.
Yeah, we also have the aforementioned SkillJim. Hello.
What?
Hello, James.
What? He's in the chat and here.
It's
How's
the
that work?
SkillJim, but how can SkillJim be here, but also there?
I was here the whole time.
Oh my God. Magic. Yes, magic. Looking sharp.
How's it going, Casey?
Yeah, doing great.
Nice ring, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's new, apparently. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Welcome, James. Always nice to have you on the show. Yeah, and newcomer to these live episodes, but long friend of the show and amazing Sega community member. One half of the SEGAGuys, we have Dan, the Mega Driver. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Casey. It's great to be on live. I think it's the first live show I've done, so exciting times.
Yes, exciting times. At least for us. Yeah, we're excited to have you. If this is exciting for you or not, we'll see. I have a Sega Launch challenge. No, I'm kidding. No Sega Launch challenge. No.
But I've got to say, lovely ring that you're introducing to the show as well.
Thank you very much. Yes. And so this is the panel we're working with, including my ring. Yes, and with this ring, I can call
including my ring
Planet. Yeah. Okay, James and I can at least call Captain Planet. Yeah, have the yes.
What are you doing? Kissing it.
The power of Shenmue, and we'll call Captain Hazuki. I don't know. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for joining me for this episode of the Sega Lounge. For people listening in or watching, thank you for joining us as well. Remember to follow the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Sega Lounge, to get notified whenever we do one of these live shows and the occasional game stream as well. Really need to keep going with my Shenmue stream. See if I can get more winning cans or not. But also if you're listening on Radio Sega, thank you very much for listening. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, thank you very, very much. Your support is very much appreciated. And with this panel of amazing guests, I think it's time we start talking a little bit, Yes. Good job, Live. I think it's time we start with a few of the more recent and relevant Sega news, right? That we've prepared. So let's try to keep this brief, although we usually don't. Brief, because we have two actually more like main topics that we want to talk about today, which is SEGA Forever and Sonic Superstars. We'll share our thoughts on that as well. But we usually start with the news, and we wanted to address a few topics here. So the first bit of news is regarding a demo which is out now of an amazing project, an amazing port, Mega Drive port of R-Type, called R-Type Mega. Or is it Mega R-Type? Mega R-Type, I think. I always switch this up. It's Mega R-Type. Am I right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yes, Mega R-Type, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So mind the occasional mistake here. So we have actually like a screen grab here of the page where you can actually download this demo. I know for a fact that Dan, you have played this.
Oh yes, we featured it on the channel. We actually got the Robo Z, who's the talented creator behind this. Actually, we were privileged to get an early version of this demo. He shared it before it actually went public, so we featured it on the channel. And yeah, it's absolutely magic. It looks and feels just like the arcade, and it has so many lovely little touches in there. Like I think the stage 5 is actually the bonus stage from the Master System port. It's got the Leo prototype in there. It's got all these options. You can play it as like the PC Engine kind of resolution where the screen scrolls up and down, or you can have it in like the Dimensions way, or you can have it the original arcade way. And yeah, when we first played this, we just couldn't get enough of it. And it's great now that the public can play it, but I think everyone's now just hungry for more. I think it's definitely one of the best homebrew projects or best homebrew arcade ports that I've ever played by quite a large margin. I think probably Mega Final Fight is probably the closest one to this, but this is it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. So this is actually me playing this. I'm not that great at playing shmups, to be honest, but this has an easy mode, which is I use here. I'm actually surprised because even with easy mode, I recorded this footage twice. So this is the second attempt. The first one, I died a lot. And for some reason, I don't know what.
For some reason, I just died a lot.
For some reason, I didn't die on this run, which is
there we go.
kind of amazing for me. Did I play on normal settings first? I don't know. I thought I had the easy mode on, but this is as Dan was saying. Sorry,
you just got better at it, Casey.
Maybe in my sleep. I don't know. Maybe that happens. I think, this is it looks gorgeous. It sounds amazing, right, Dan? Can you confirm?
The soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Well, there's actually two soundtracks. There's I think it's Cyber Deus has got an arranged soundtrack on there, and then there's like a Mega Drive version of the arcade original, and they're both phenomenal. I was switching between the two. It's like picking your favorite child. I couldn't choose a favorite out of them. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I'm terrible at shoot 'em ups as well. So first time I played this, I actually, as I say on the video on the SEGAGuys channel, I actually played this like you are right now with the infinite lives on, and you can have instant respawns as well. So you don't have to reset and go back to the checkpoint. You can just like die and carry on. It's almost like playing it on God mode, but getting to see the end, getting to see all 3 stages, it's something worth doing. And then I just found myself going back over and over and over again.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, that's a good shout because I only learned about the infinite mode. I think it's in the page somewhere. And actually, it's in the settings. It's obvious there. But I only after watching your video and you mentioned the infinite mode, infinite lives mode. That's when it clicked for me. Oh, I can play this without dying or having to respawn. I didn't die though, so I don't know what happened. To be honest, I'm not good at games at all, and especially shmups. I lack the coordination It's not like even a hand-eye coordination. It's like generally speaking, no coordination at all. I'm very good at like sitting down and doing nothing. I have the coordination for that, but other than that, no. I lack the skills. Yeah, but it's a very good looking game. It plays really nice. The controls are tight. You can feel that this is actually like a very faithful arcade port of this of a game that it's
Okay, so
kinda
that's
weird.
what it is. Like, yep, sorry.
Yeah. It's originally an arcade game that was released on the Master System. There was a Master System version, but for some reason, for a system that had like every shmup under the sun, it's kind of weird that we never got a Mega Drive version.
It's bizarre, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it came to the PC Engine, it came to the Master System, it came to pretty much all the home computers. You know, James played it on the Amiga. It had Commodore 64 ports, Spectrum ports. It came to everything.
I think I played the Spectrum version. Yeah,
the Spectrum version is pretty decent as well. And out of all of that, it never came to the Mega Drive, which is almost like the home of the shoot 'em up. You know, we had all the Thunder Force and Hellfire. And so many others on there, Truxton, and just never got R-Type. So this is right and a wrong, 30 years later.
Is it on Game Gear? If it's got like a Master System, like might be on the
I'm not
Game
sure.
Gear as well?
I don't think it is actually. I don't think it hit the Game Gear. Obviously, you can stick your big chunky Master System converter in there, but it never got an official port. Not as far as I'm aware, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
So you can download it now. It's got 3 stages, which I think it's 1, 5, and 8, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think after you beat the game the first time in easy mode, I think you restart in a harder difficulty every time. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And it's at least it's fun until we have like the finished product, which is going to be amazing, I'm sure. And go show the developers some love and download this amazing demo. Recommended, definitely. Okay, yeah. Moving on. I was just like, this is the best footage I've ever recorded of me playing any kind of game. So I didn't want to.
Did you even die then, Casey? I didn't see you die at all.
No, I didn't die. That's amazing. Like, it's probably like very easy mode. Anyway, next bit of news. I think I will defer this one to James, considering the topic. Okay. James, the next one, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
you get it on the screen.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So this is an interview from Ezra Krabe, who works for IGN Japan. He's recently had a chat with Yu Suzuki about his 40-year history working at Sega back in the day on arcade cabinets of Space Harrier, Outrun, Virtua Fighter, obviously all his beloved classics. A little bit on Shenmue in there as well, but he goes into a lot of detail actually on some of his early work there. That was a good bit actually, just that little section on champion boxing. Mm-hmm. Ezra asks him like, why was his first game a boxing game? And apparently it took him a moment to think of the reason why. He couldn't remember that far, but yeah, it's a really good read overall. He talks about virtual racing there, you can see on the screen, and then obviously the first sort of 3D polygon type games, fighting game, Virtua Fighter, how these things sort of originated, how they got around sort of the lower end of the hardware that they were able to make these games for. So it was a really interesting read overall. And then it gets into some juicy stuff on Shenmue, where he starts talking about how they designed Shenmue earlier, like some sort of procedurally generated elements that they used, which was quite interesting. Obviously, we already knew about Magic Weather, Magic Rooms, the Magic Maze stuff that they sort of made to condense those what would typically be huge and take up huge amount of space on a disc into very small chunks, so they could fit all that. That's how Shenmue actually is all, sort of held together by string on the Dreamcast. But yeah, he talks about how they use some elements in the conversation work as well, which surprised me. So sort of like Ezra sort of asks, like, did they use any of that procedurally generated stuff in obviously the amount of conversations that there are in the game? And Yu Suzuki says, like, not really, but actually they did pick certain words out, and there's like a series of different words that replaces with. So his example there is like, I go to Yokohama, I can be replaced with you, he, she. So they can form a lot of different sentences and conversation structure there by, all these different types of variations. So, kind of keeps it fresh every time you speak to a different character. That's why they always seem like they've got something different to say, even if they're talking about the same thing. It's because it's like procedurally picking a variety of words, which I'm pretty sure is revolutionary for the time as well, with all these features and stuff. As we get further down the article, he then starts discussing actually, what's this bit that's on the screen at the moment? I'm not sure, but he gets into Shenmue 4 talk anyway.
Yeah. It's here.
Which is
I think he talks about like Shenmue 3 after a lot of years.
Yeah, a little bit of Shenmue 3 perhaps.
Yeah.
Definitely go check this interview out in full because it's an amazing read. But yeah, he talks about Shenmue 4, which dangles a little bit of carrot for us. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound like they're actually actively working on Shenmue 4.
Yeah.
But he talks about some of the things that he wants to do. One of those is quite cool. He wants to do sort of like what's the phrasing? Like flashbacks, like playable flashbacks. So instead of having, say, like a digest movie like he did for Shenmue 3, where it's like trying to condense the first 2 games' story, he'd rather just let you play the game and maybe you bump into a cutscene and then that triggers a flashback and then you can play actually parts of the story that have happened previously. So perhaps you bump into Landy and then, I remember that day. And then maybe you can play walking back home again and see the introduction to Shenmue. Perhaps that could be his thinking. And then that causes Ezra to ask him about potential Shenmue 0, which you've got the Yakuza 0 that sort of kick-started that series. And he's obviously talking about flashbacks. Does that sort of lend credence to perhaps producing a Shenmue 0? And interestingly, Yu Suzuki says that he's actually been thinking about it, and he has ideas for Shenmue 0 as well. So within the space of like 2 paragraphs here, we've got, potentially a Shenmue 0 and a Shenmue 4 on the cards, which is rather exciting for a Shenmue fan. I know Matt did a video on this where he was sort of coming up with like weighing up the positives and negatives. Negatives being like, maybe if they're working on 2 games, how are they going to sell that to a publisher? Where are they getting the budget from to make 2 games? Perhaps, Matt thinks it's probably best to continue the story rather than adding an additional chapter. But I'm for anything, mate. If it's Shenmue, I'm there day one. And actually, I think it might be a big risk, Shenmue 0, but if it comes off like Yakuza did, and then suddenly we get like an influx of fans, potentially then you could be getting a 4, a 5, a 6, depending on the popularity of the series from that point onwards. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. But yeah, this interview gets the juices flowing, and it's great, to be honest, just to read about Yu Suzuki's history again. His 40-year career is actually amazing. And I think someone like Yu Suzuki, he doesn't really get the respect that he sort of deserves there for having such a large and amazing career.
Yeah, I think it's down to in more recent years not being as influential. I think that's actually mentioned in the article as well. He's not as influential now as he was before. So for us, like, old timers, we remember the classics. We remember his the amazing work he's done. For newer players, it's a little bit
what he contributed
harder
to the industry. First open world game, first 3D polygon fighter game. All these sort of world firsts, I suppose, that he kind of invented genres that companies like Cyberpunk is taking inspiration from almost.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was good to see him actually get the respect that he deserves in that article. It was a fantastic read.
Yeah.
And I think they mentioned him, that he was Sega's Miyamoto. And to be honest, he was. We were talking about Virtua Fighter on the channel celebrating its 30th anniversary, just talking about how that basically changed the video game industry. And and I think that's largely forgotten about. So it's good to see that recognised in the article. But no, it was fantastic. It's got me waiting for. I'd love to get a Shenmue 4. I'd love a Shenmue 0. I'd love to see, I don't know, Fukusan owning a cabaret club or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Two different arcs. Ryosuke, Fukusan.
Amazing. That would be nice. Obviously, we also have Air Twister coming soon by Yu Suzuki, right? Which
that's in the interview as well, yeah.
Yeah, I've recorded a bit of iPad footage, actually, Apple Arcade footage here.
I was mention as well. Sorry, Casey. He also mentions that they are actually working on a new game as well, which is probably the biggest news that I just sort of went past there without even saying. Yeah, but they are actually. It doesn't sound like it's a Shenmue title, but if they're making games again, it's amazing to see Yu Suzuki coming out with Air Twister and whatever his next game is potentially going to be.
Yeah. I like Air Twister. It's like a mix of Space Harrier and Panzer Dragoon in some ways, right?
It looks like that, yeah.
It is nice. I'm not sure how it's going to play on consoles. Hopefully, even better. I was actually playing with a controller here, and I was getting used to it because I usually play with the touch controls, which I think is actually what in the article mentions it. It was made for the touch controls, not really for a controller. This version, the Apple Arcade version, but it's.
I'd say so.
I just hope that it played like Panzer Dragoon or Space Harrier or kind of in between. I mean, that's what it looks like. As long as it plays like that, I'm all in.
Yeah, definitely.
Love Space Harrier. Love Panzer Dragoon. So that's right up my alley.
You'll definitely get Panzer Dragoon vibes if you're using a controller because you have to like physically target over stuff with the controller.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously if you're playing on the Apple Arcade, you can literally just swipe your finger across targets.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and so
I'm getting auto vibe from the aesthetic and the lock on, the way that the lasers fly around.
Definitely.
It's
you
don't have like a lock on button or anything. You just like swipe the analog stick over the enemies and it automatically locks on, and then you just press the fire button once and
tap for bullets, can't you? Like single bullets, I do.
Yeah, definitely.
In fact, with touchscreen, for some reason, I do this. When you're playing those old athletics games where you use the two fingers like that, I sort of do that on the screen, and I don't know, it just makes me feel like I'm doing more damage.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so that's another. Oh, I got a rank A. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway,
may I just like ask a question there? This is like a very newbie question. Apple Arcade. I've never heard of that until like the recent days. To be honest, that's a completely new thing for me. I'm guessing you play it on like the iPad, iPhone.
Yeah. And Mac,
device,
iOS and Mac devices,
and Mac.
TV.
Okay,
and Apple TV,
and Apple
yes.
TV. Yeah. So you can use a controller
it's a
with
subscription.
These games.
You can, yes. It's a subscription service for Apple devices.
And in fact, developers, to get the game listed on Apple Arcade, they have to have controller support. So every game on the platform, you can play with a controller if you've got one like a Bluetooth controller or whatever.
Even if it's on an iPad.
Yeah. As Resident SE is saying, all games have controller support.
There you go.
There you go.
Wow. Well, okay, cool. I did not know this. This is absolutely new to me. It caught my attention with something that we're going to talk about
and
later.
Don't quote me, but
right now, actually.
I read.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Sonic
Dream Team.
Sorry, James. Sorry.
I read somewhere that they've got like 100 million subscribers, or a valuation of something like that, or maybe even 300. I don't know.
Probably. I mean, I don't play Apple Arcade games or mobile games that often, to be honest, but I do have a subscription because it came bundled with something else, with other services that I do use on my iPhone and iPad and Mac. So that's why I do have the Apple Arcade subscription. Otherwise, I would probably not be playing these games, but it's nice to have. I'm not that big into mobile gaming, to be honest. So I tend
Says
to
over 100
appreciate
million
the games,
users.
but not for too long.
I'm calling myself out as well as not an Apple user.
No, me neither. Don't touch Apple. So,
according to this,
Well,
it's reportedly the most popular game subscription service.
Okay.
Wow, and I've
That's
never
nice.
heard of this. I've never even heard the word
Do you have an iPhone?
Apple Arcade until
Lime?
like this past week.
Have you got an iPhone?
No, I do
That's
not.
why then.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well,
And Rafsik says, I remember Apple Arcade because of the Choo Choo Rocket sequel a few years ago. Yeah, Choo Choo Rocket Universe came out on Apple Arcade and then died, unfortunately. And also, was it Team Sonic Racing? Team Sonic Racing is the one
they
that
did a Sonic Dash
No, but
Plus
it's-
as well, I think, right?
but it's the same. Is it the same name? Team Sonic Racing on Apple Arcade? I can't remember.
I think
'Cause
so.
it's a slightly different game, I think. Or is it just Sonic Racing? I don't know.
Have
I
it
can't
downloaded,
remember.
hang on.
They came
I'll let you know.
to Apple Arcade at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think that one's still available and still playable.
I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
Sonic Racing. Let's see what comes up.
It's probably Sonic Racing. I don't have it here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's literally called Sonic Racing.
yeah,
Just
chat
Sonic
says
Racing says
Sonic
Residency.
Racing.
There we go. There we go. So
I had no idea those two games existed. Choo
Yeah.
Choo
Me
Rocket
neither.
Universe and Sonic
This
Racing.
is all new to me.
I don't
There
know
we
how
go.
to make that not
There we go,
reflect, guys, but yeah, you can see
yeah,
it.
it's there. It's there. Just look for it if you're interested in trying that out. So, and that brings us to our next bit of news, which is Sonic Dream Team has been announced. We have like the trailer here, the teaser trailer, I would say. A new Apple Arcade exclusive 3D Sonic game. So thoughts on this, guys? Maybe Lime, let's go with you first.
I mean, this caught me by surprise. Like without warning, I just see a trailer on YouTube, and it's a new Sonic game, and I'm like, "What is this?" And my first thought was like, "Oh, this is just gonna be like a touch gameplay then if it's on Apple." But I hear now that you can use a controller with it. That's why I asked. So like, this is starting to look like better and better. I love the aesthetic. It looks very fun. Like I am intrigued by the idea to just enter Eggman's dreams. That's amazing.
In particular, yeah.
The way you said that sounded a little bit creepy.
That is the selling
okay.
point, I think. You're right there, Ryan.
That's what you do. That's what you do. You
Dreams.
go into Eggman's dreams. Like there's a little taste of Persona there, I feel.
Okay, maybe, yeah. I thought at first it was like an endless runner. It's Hard Light working on this, by the way, which the people behind Sonic Dash, Sonic Battle Forces, whatever, which is like a little bit like Sonic Dash as well. So I thought it would be an endless runner, but looking more closely at the trailer, it doesn't look like it because there are at least boss fights, it seems, and the characters seem to be, starting to move instead of always moving. So it looks like they can stop. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's the bit with Tails. So here, okay, it looks like Tails is stopped and then
backwards, isn't it?
starts moving. But
Tails
I'm
is
not
what?
sure. So I think it looks like he's not already moving. Let's see if I can. Looks like he starts moving and jumping. So it doesn't seem like an endless runner to me at this particular bit of the trailer, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks to me like you've got freedom of movement in all directions. You're not constantly being pressed forward. There's a lot of freedom. It looks like a full-on 3D Sonic game. Actually, it looks like some of the Sonic fan games that you see in the 3D space. It does look. It looks really cool from the very very brief snippets that we see of it. The bummer for me is it's on Apple Arcade, and I'm not going to own an Apple device anytime soon. So I'll have to wait.
No.
I'll have to wait for it to come elsewhere if it ever does, which is a bummer. But there we go.
Hopefully, we
thing I
can
noticed
get
was-
a release outside of that. Sorry,
The only
James.
thing I noticed was it looks a little bit like lower FPS, like it's struggling in places. Like there's a little bit where there's a stutter. I don't know if you noticed.
Not really, but maybe.
It does a little bit.
Let me see if
I know what you mean.
They say gameplay footage, they say here, captured on high quality settings. So that's worrying.
Right.
If that's the case, that's worrying.
Yeah, but if they've got like a high FPS mode or something, that bit there was a little bit framey, I thought.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see it now. Yeah, it doesn't look like
smooth.
Yeah.
It's interesting Hardlight doing this. It looks extremely ambitious for them. I don't know if they've had a huge growth in team size but it looks extremely ambitious for a mobile, for an Apple title from Hardlight. What's the date this is out?
5th of December.
Okay. James has got an iPhone. I'm going to have to get the Segaholic to tell me what this is like.
I need to find. I need to find someone with.
I mean, exclusives suck wherever they are. To be honest, so the games should be available everywhere so everyone can experience them.
Absolutely.
But it is what it is. It's about the money. So I'm sure they had
convince you to pick up an iPhone, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe
£1,000 lying around.
If you're enough of a Sonic fan, maybe that'll convince you.
So if you don't get an Apple TV, a Mac, or something like that to play this game, you're not a real Sonic fan.
That's true. That's the biggest takeaway from this.
My love of Sonic and hatred of Apple are just clashing right now.
My love of Sonic and my love of money. Or having money. Yeah.
So we got 6 playable characters, spectacular boss battles, it says here in my sources. Never before seen dream worlds. I don't know. I on paper it sounds like a very cool idea. We'll see
In about a month, I guess. So stay tuned for that. Sonic Dream Team. The names went from Superstars to Dream Team. I don't know. Kind of suck, but okay. It is what it is. Moving on, and we're like I'm trying to be brief here. So we've talked about, I think last time we did one of these where we covered the news and stuff. I think reported on hyenas being playable at Gamescom.
Yeah.
Well, about that, apparently hyenas is no more, and Creative Assembly have been have begun a redundancy process. Sorry.
Nice one.
Disassembled.
Creatively disassembled.
Well done. Sad, but good job. And they announced this that ending development of hyenas. This will result in job losses, which we've been seeing a lot of in the industry these days. So any thoughts on this? And apparently, by the way, this came in conjunction with a notice by Sega Sammy of like their restructuring in everywhere. And this is a long statement, but they talk a little bit about how they need to consider measures to improve profitability in European bases. So, in response to the lower profitability of the European region.
See, that kind of annoyed me a little bit, because if you look at Sega in the last 20 years and the amount of misses that they've had in terms of games, they've had the Yakuza games, but for every Yakuza game, you've got about 5 Golden Axe Beast Riders, or Platinum games which were fantastic but didn't really sell. What really seemed to keep Sega fluid for a lot of it was a lot of the PC space. The games from the Total War games, the games from Creative Assembly, the Football Manager games, and they were always sure bets. You always knew that they were going to perform. They were always going to be up there at the top of the Steam charts, performing well. Or, Football Manager on a yearly basis, every Total War game that came out. Then, Alien Isolation came out, which was a modest success, but, it's very well regarded. And for the European arm to be spoken about like that, as in it's underperforming in this scenario, in this one game, isn't meeting expectations, so they're basically being gutted, it just feels really unfair to the European arms. And that was my first reaction on reading that note from Sega Sammy. That they owe, I feel like one Sega owes a lot to those European operations, and they're just being, now they're not, now that Sega seem to be doing a little better. Sonic's selling record numbers, Yakuza's at a record high. They're kind of being tossed by the wayside. That was my feeling on it anyway.
For sure, yeah. I'm right there with you on that. Yeah.
Is there any repercussions for like those other franchises you just spoke about now with job losses? Like, are they still going to do another Football Manager, for example, or is?
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So it seems like Creative Assembly they're being downsized, but it's just like the Hyenas team. I imagine that are going, and they'll just continue to be the Total War factory rather than being allowed to expand and do another Alien game, or a game like Hyenas, or even I don't know if they'd ever get the opportunity to work on the Halo franchise again. But it just seems like they'll be like, no, you're a Total War, and this is all you do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I wasn't really that excited about Hyenas. Actually, I wasn't excited at all. But it's sad to see people losing their jobs, first of all. And I'm with Dan. I think it's really unfair to Creative Assembly, for one, because they've been doing a great job throughout the years of, carrying some of the weight in terms of Sega West operations, I think. I know PC gaming isn't as big in Japan as it is in the West. It's starting to pick up, but not in the way that probably it is here. But it kind of, I don't know, I don't like this term of lower profitability of the European region. I don't buy it, to be honest. I don't.
Yeah, I have a thought about that, because there's something that confuses me about this, because they go further into that, like the reactionary decline from the stay-at-home demand in COVID-19 and the economic downturn due to inflation in European region. And I'm like, COVID was worldwide. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but the inflation was not like Europe only. So they're mentioning things that are not specific to Europe, but still pin it on Europe. I don't understand that.
So maybe it is. Are they trying to prepare for harsher times? And so are they doing this like in advance, preparing for lower profitability in the future? Because I don't see how the European market is less profitable if we have like Football Manager, which is huge, if we have the Total War games like Dan said, and other PC titles, which I'm sure are bigger in Europe than other parts of the world. Is it like a preemptive measure of sorts?
I think you see it's weird that they single out Europe in this, but I think it is something that you see in industry-wide and worldwide. We had the news this week about Bungie and Insomniac recently. Xbox went through its round of redundancies a few months ago. It does seem like it's something that the whole industry is going through, sadly, at the moment. I think it's the wording of this and the noting out that, because I don't think, do Sega have any significant US studios?
I don't think so.
I mean,
I don't think so.
Relic are European based as well, aren't they?
I think they're all like Relic, Creative Assembly, Hardlight.
Sonic Team, is that sort of, that feels more American to me.
I think they're still,
I think the marketing part of it, and like they have collaborators in the US, but it's still Japan based, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it feels like it's diverting and finding a reason to focus on Europe for its redundancies rather than Japan. I don't know whether it's easier to downsize in Europe or whatever the reason. It does seem really unfair to me. Focusing on Europe.
Indeed. I mean, if they could have like mentioned Europe specific things, then I mean, sure. But the things they mention are worldwide and not specific to Europe, but still they pin it on Europe. I don't understand.
Yeah, maybe they think they will affect Europe more
maybe.
in a way, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's preemptive, as I was saying, and not really reactive. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, so and on that note, on that same note, but not really, Sega says development of its first super game is progressing steadily, and they plan to release the blockbuster
to Europe.
Exclusive to
Oh no!
They plans to release the blockbuster title by March 2026. So if you remember this, I didn't remember actually when Dan tipped me about this before the show. I was like, the what? The super game? Oh yeah, I seem to remember something about that. So they announced it in May 2021. Like the project will span multiple AAA titles that cross over Sega's comprehensive range of technologies and go beyond the traditional framework of games. What this means exactly, I don't know. But they want to release the game by the fiscal year ending March 2026. So by 2026, we'll have this super game ready, apparently. And it has, and they said that they would consider investing up to 100 billion yen, which would be, apparently, in November 2021, $882 million over the next 5 years.
Yikes.
Okay. Yeah. So considering the fact that it's like, they say that it spans, how do they say it? Here, how do they put it? They go beyond the traditional framework of games, cross over Sega's comprehensive range of technologies. So considering this, I can see how they would spend a lot of money, but almost $1 billion dollars, maybe.
See, I was trying to remember. I probably won't be able to find the article now, but I think that the super game, quotation marks, is actually multiple games. It's a project spanning multiple games rather than a single game, which kind of explains the absolutely gargantuan budget that they're assigning to this. Not completely. It's still, you're still looking at at least 100 million, 200 million a game, depending how many games they're planning to make. Seeing that just so soon after the whole hyenas thing, it's leaves a bit of a bitter taste in your mouth, doesn't it?
Why would they make multiple and not just try one?
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. And this was, I think, at the same time that they told us about like the plan to make movies based on their IP and stuff. So could this be, since they say that it spans there are multiple technologies. Could these be like several titles in terms of games and also tie-ins with movies, perhaps?
Do
Possibly,
movies
yeah.
like typically have big budgets, right? Especially if you're doing
Yeah.
like is it a John Woo Streets of Rage or whatever?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think that they're partnering up with Microsoft, aren't they, for this? That was another thing from another article from a year or two back, where they actually using Microsoft Azure servers as to underpin a lot of the technology in this. We've still got absolutely no idea what this super game is, apart from it's expensive and apparently cutting edge. But
Well, they say in the article, a super game involves the concept of a game that stands head and shoulders above normal games.
it's a new choo-choo rocket.
That's why it's super.
Yes, that is how they define it. What a normal game is, I have no idea. But
Rafsix says, can't wait for my AAA Fighting Vipers open world spin-off.
Oh, I'd buy that day one.
Could be, I don't know. It sounds like too much, and it seems like they're trying to hype this up a lot, and I'm not sure what's gonna come out of this. I don't know.
I think like they say something at the end of the article that I think like might be a clue about all of this. Like the quote, "I encourage stakeholders to look forward to the fruit of our efforts." I think this might be getting the hopes of stakeholders up, or getting more stakeholders, or like this whole thing like might be to get
more investors.
Yes,
like investor talk, money talk.
Does it say RPG has changed forever anywhere?
Yeah.
Question.
I think it's a new Echo the Dolphin game. Yes, I'm sorry.
This might also be like a new big question, but they keep coming back in the article to R&D.
Yeah, so they're research and
R&D
development.
activities.
They're
Sorry?
if they're like trying to
Research and development. Okay.
Yeah, if they're using different technologies, like Dan mentioned, I remember that news as well. That bit of news about they using Microsoft's cloud technology or something, I think. So could be. I'm not sure if the thing is, we want games that we can play on our systems, right? It doesn't matter if they're using like a lot of complicated technology to get them done. And I think it's a little bit too much.
I can see what they want to do, because if you look across the industry, you know, the Sega that obviously a lot of us fell in love with was the console maker Sega. The Sega that gave us Shenmue, you know, at the time the most expensive game ever created, a game that it was the super game of its time, wasn't it? And if you look at the industry now, you've got, you know, Sony constantly pump out AAA, quadruple A games. Microsoft are trying to. Nintendo have always got that higher quality. And then as a third party level, I know Activision, I guess, aren't third party anymore, but you've got Call of Duty, and then Namco have got Dark Souls games, or Elden Ring, which that was in effect kind of a super game in terms of the scale and its worldwide success. And you got if you're Sega and you look at your legacy, you kind of think that Sega should be in there with that kind of, you know, selling 10 million copies, earning that much money. That they should be that level. And I think it probably is a play to be back in, you know, with the big boys, playing with the big games, being on Game of the Year list, selling tens of millions of copies. I think that's where they want to be, because it's big. Because Sonic's not there. Sonic sold 3.5 billion. It's the best-selling Sonic Frontiers, the most best-selling Sonic game since Sonic Heroes, and it's not huge numbers. It's not Elden Ring numbers. Same with Yakuza. It's still Yakuza still or Like a Dragon is still. They're superb games, love them to bits, and they're finding success, but they aren't blockbuster titles. They're still quite niche.
Yeah, that's what they're aiming for sure. Yeah, definitely. I just don't know how they can do it. Is it new IP, old IP? and it's
If it was-
kind of
yeah.
hard. It's kind of hard because it's really
gonna be
easy
a
to
Sonic
screw up.
game. It's gonna be a very, very expensive.
It's gonna be
Sonic
Sonic Man. Sonic Man. Like
You gotta think if it was as
GTA
simple as
style
saying-
Sonic Man.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
gotta
gonna
think
be
if it was
Sonic
simple as
Man.
throwing money at it, people would have done it already.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a very expensive and awesome Sonic game with no bugs whatsoever.
There we go.
I mean, it's got getting a lot of attention and eyes on it just by it being a super game. Do you know what I mean? Just the
Yeah.
the whole concept.
That's what
It's-
worries me, right?
We're
Because
gonna overhype
they're
it,
hyping
'cause
up
it needs,
hyping this
like-
up too much.
Yeah, it needs to be amazing, doesn't it? Now,
Yeah. That's it. And it's gonna be like underwhelming. Like, oh yeah, here. Oh, this is the
super game.
even reviewers will be like that. So like, oh, so this is the first of those super game things that Sega's doing, and quite honestly, it's underwhelming.
And it's a card
and,
game.
true.
Too much
and if
water.
the first one sort of tanks, then that kind of like as a sense as
Like
like the
a
others.
domino
you know,
effect,
whatever.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, we don't know what this is yet. Could be like Rafsig is saying, NFT. I don't think so, but could be. I don't know. I think there people have been moving on from that, so hopefully that's not it. Okay, and so that's the news. But I think as a nice segue into our next topic, one of our first main topics, we've mentioned the hyena situation. We've mentioned this super game situation. So they're firing people. They're doing budget cuts, canceling games. Is this related or not? But my question, guys, is what's happening with SEGA Forever, right? So to provide a little bit of context for this, the SEGA Forever games that were still available have been delisted on iOS and Android, right? Some already have like an end of service notification. I don't know if many people were still playing these SEGA Forever versions of games, which were, as time went by, they were affected by a change in policy within SEGA Forever. I think they were better to start off, or they started off better than the versions that we have now. In some cases, but they have been delisted. I don't know if you guys played these games regularly or at all.
When they first came
bit.
out, I played them, and then, like you say, they did get progressively worse because they started implementing, like, in Sonic 1, if you die, you needed to spend a coin or something to if you want to continue, otherwise you had to play from the start
That's
of the
why
game
I
again.
don't play mobile games.
Yeah.
I hate that.
So, Comic Zone, Altered Beast, Fantasy Star Classics, Revenge of Shinobi, Vector Man, Decap Attack, Eastwat, Restar, Space Harrier 2, Beyond Oasis, Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Heady, and Afterburner Climax.
I still remember like the original trailer that they were promoting this, and it made out like they were going to eventually release every single Sega game ever. So we were like getting excited. Oh, that means they're going to be doing some Sega Saturn games, Dreamcast games, and then we kind of didn't get any of those, did we? In fact, Afterburner Climax is probably the only big surprise out of that whole list there. That actually got a port.
Yeah. Resident SC
Don't
says,
just show that.
Lime, you should get an Apple Arcade subscription.
I was specifically not mentioning that and did not give that any attention.
But for me, okay, this is bad. This is bad if you guys play this. We have, apart from maybe Afterburner Climax, I think we have all of these games, better versions of these games elsewhere. Sega Ages versions, the Steam versions, the compilations, the Mega Drive minis. So they're available. Afterburner Climax is probably the biggest, biggest news here and there's a Virtua Tennis game, which I'm not sure if it's still available or not. I used to play that a little bit. But other than that, and maybe Crazy Taxi. But we have Crazy Taxi elsewhere. So this is not really my biggest concern. My biggest concern is this, which was very well described in this feature article by Damien McFerrin on Time Extension, which is a very nice website. You should definitely check it out. They spotted, and I'm sure many of us had spotted that already, that the SEGA Forever account. So again, to provide some context, SEGA Forever started being like a way to preserve games and release them on phones and stuff. And then they switched gears and they stopped releasing the SEGA Forever line of games and stopped being more about the preservation of the history of Sega with social media posts, sharing never before seen concept art and information and videos and stuff. However, the last time that the account had an update was August 21st. So that's over 2 months from ago, which got picked up by Time Extension and by many fans in the community. And we never heard from SEGA Forever again in terms of like social media. So what's up with that, guys? So James, what's up with that? What did you do, James?
Nothing to do with me, guys.
You tell us that. I'll walk.
Not to put you on the spot, James, but what did you do?
Wasn't me. No, but it is a shame, really, when you think about it, because is all this stuff sort of linked? That's kind of what you're getting at there, Casey, right? Are you going through that? The Hyenas situation, the Super Game, are they potentially cutting costs in certain locations, and is one of them going to be the Sega Forever preservation sort of outlet, which Danny Russell, who controls that account, he's been sharing photographs when he gets like a stack of discs from the old Sega archives, and everyone, we all as old school Sega fans get really excited when we see that sort of stuff, because we want to see stuff from our childhood that went into these games, early concept art, perhaps like music that never got used. Hopefully Shenmue on the Sega Saturn as a disc sitting somewhere that, we'd hope that eventually these discs and these sort of things could be archived and preserved and, sort of maintained and brought to this sort of digital era, because there's sort of these things, these relics from Sega's past, they're not going to be around for too much longer, really. You've got your disc rot. I know Danny Russell, I think when he first had a stack of discs, he made the mistake of like just picking them up or pulling them out of a sleeve or something, and some of the data came off because it was like stuck to the plastic sleeves. I'm sure that was like one of the first things he said when he was talking about getting his first sort of batch of Sega history. But this sort of stuff's not going to last forever, guys. So it's like, this was an exciting thing out there to preserve Sega's history, and like just this stuff, man. I got really excited when I saw this, and especially, I didn't expect to see it at EGX. It was at EGX as well, and I took photos with Matt with it in front of it, and it's just, as a kid, I went to Sega World. I seen this statue as a kid. It's just, it doesn't make sense that it's like it's there. It's the same statue, and that's because people have gone out of the way to preserve things like this.
Yeah. And Danny, above everyone else, is like really passionate about this kind of stuff, and it's
he's the perfect guy for the role, because he's a passionate Sega fan. He actively wants to preserve this stuff because he wants it himself. He wants to see the history of Sega that he grew up with. So he's the perfect guy to be running such a thing, and hopefully they haven't taken it away from him, or budgets and all this sort of stuff have sort of canned it. I don't know if it's on the cards, if it's been in talks somewhere, but I'm an advocate for it. I think
I need someone to explain this to me. How does this impact their budget negatively? I don't really see it, to be honest. I mean, like restoring a statue like this obviously has a cost, but like the things that Danny usually does, and I know he has Arlen from the Sonic community also contributing with some stuff. But the things that they usually do, like sharing anniversaries of games and like concept art and hidden things that was never seen before, how does that really impact the company's budget negatively?
I don't think it does really, because I think, and overall, even if they're not getting an instant gratification or an instant monetary sort of compensation from whatever Danny's doing, it's keeping fans active. It's keeping goodwill with fans. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
It's just keeping an active Sega community, even if there's no numbers to go with it. It's got to contribute somewhat to our nostalgia. So when they release a Sonic Mania Plus, we've kept that nostalgia from this account. This account's feeding our nostalgia in a sense, and just something so simple like this potentially goes a long way. And you might not see what it's actually doing to fans, but we're actively talking about it now. It's a damaging thing if it has been taken away from us in a sense, because then it sort of makes us feel a bit then negative on Sega as a whole. It's like having the opposite effect. When you see a brand new image that you've never seen before, you get a little bit of excitement. You get you sort of Sega juices flowing again, and then I might go buy a Sega game. Who knows what an individual actually does from seeing something like that. But at the moment we're sort of down and out, and I don't know, maybe it turns people away from Sega games.
No, they even share stuff about Shenmue.
Exactly.
Look, Shenmue 2 was released 22 years ago.
I'm going to go buy another copy of Shenmue right now.
There you go, Sega. Bring it back. Yeah. Anyone's got any other thoughts on this?
No, it's just bizarre, and it just feels like self-destruction from Sega, and they're the worst. And we recently did a topic club about this on the SEGAGuys podcast, and we had a very similar discussion with the Sega Shiro guys. That Sega just don't seem to give their own legacy and their own history enough respect, and that in turn just leads to it being forgotten by the wider industry and wider fandom within the hobby. You look at all these best of lists that you've seen. I mean, Edge did one recently, and you have people doing them for all sorts of outlets, and you only ever see 3 Sega games on there. You get probably Shenmue, Virtua Fighter, and Sonic the Hedgehog. And no one ever seems to mention all these other fantastic Sega games that are out there, probably because they don't know about them or they've forgotten about them. And it just feels like Sega are kind of missing the trick here. One, because they really should be harping on about this fantastic legacy that they've got and bringing people in. But if you get people invested, whether it's, us Sega veterans that are probably still going to buy the stuff anyway, or whether it's, getting new fans out there that are going to come and play the games. I mean, you just look at something like a Dragon, Gaiden, the man who erased his name, is playing big on the fact that it's got a version of Daytona USA 2 on there, which to people of a certain age is like, oh my God, amazing. But people younger than 30 are like, well, why do I care about that? But SEGA Forever was a reason to make people care and understand the significance, and now they've lost that tool. And it's like, what was the cost of keeping that social media account active? Even if Danny was just doing a tweet or two a day, the fact that it hasn't tweeted for months is alarming, really. And you've got to wonder, and imagine Danny would probably want to keep tweeting if he has. So that's the thing. Has someone stopped him? Has someone told him not to? And we know he's still working at Sega. But
yeah.
What's is it a new direction? It's just alarming and worrying. Especially when Sega really should be banking on some of that legacy stuff. I mean, they've got legacy content coming out all the time. As I say, the arcade games and the Like a Dragon games. Infinite Wealth's got arcade games in it. They're still releasing retro content on the Switch Online extension package. So it's in their interest to keep people excited about this. Why aren't
many
they?
consoles as well?
Yeah. I mean, if I were like a younger person, like discovering these games through, for example, I think that the best way for a younger person to discover these classic games is like playing or having a Nintendo Switch online subscription, having like the Mega Drive pack of games, and this Shining Force thing. What is it? And then I want to know more about this. Let me just like look online. Oh, there's an account that shares like bits of information about Shining Force, about Panzer Dragoon, about Shenmue, about whatever. So maybe there's more to learn here about this game and this company. Maybe I should look into playing more games. And I don't see this hurting Sega in any way. Quite the contrary, obviously. But we can only speculate about the reasoning behind apparently canceling these kinds of posts that Tenny has been doing. And that's a little bit, not just the posts as well, but even the videos. I know there was work on like a lot of series of videos about Sonic, about other kinds of content, about the Sega community in different parts of the world. I know there was work done on some of them, and they haven't been released for whatever reason. I wonder if that's part of the whole let's just shut down Sega Forever thing.
Yeah, strange, isn't it?
The only thing, I mean, the only thing you can hope for is that it's basically a reboot, because I was same as you guys, same as you, Jim. I was so excited when Sega Forever first launched. It was like, we're going to get Dreamcast games, Saturn games, we're going to get everything on here. And in the end, it just ended up being the same old Sega Mega Drive games that we've already had on about a dozen collections. And then they made it worse by, adding all these microtransactions. And I had a few games. I was playing Phantasy Star 2 for quite a bit, got quite far in that until they introduced the mobile stuff, and then it just kind of turned me off it. And imagine engagement on these is really low now. It probably delisting the games is probably the least concern on here, and I'd hope that delisting the games is just something that they're going to come back and say, all right, we just need to relaunch this, get some classic Sega content back out there, freshen it up. Whether that comes to pass or not, we don't know. I mean, we all know what Sega's like. It could be the worst, but small hope in me thinks maybe this is going to be a reboot, a refresh that whole brand. That from the games perspective, the socials part was fantastic. The games themselves on the mobile stores were poor versions of those games. So,
oh my
we'll
god,
see.
Is Sega Forever the new super game? Is that it?
Well,
that'd be cool.
Ooh, that would be
Sega
nice.
Museum.
Yeah. I mean, from a preservation point of view as well, this was such an amazing way to preserve the history of these games. We've talked about this before, right, guys? But, you don't see like companies themselves having specific social media accounts or whatever projects that specifically try to preserve the history of their IP. They either release new games or remastered games or re-release games that they've done before, but like sharing information, sharing archival footage or pictures or whatever material is not something that you see very often. So for once, Sega were doing a good job on this, and now seeing this not happening anymore is like disheartening.
Well, you're scrolling through your Twitter feed and you've got all this negativity, and then you stop on a picture of some concept art of a game that you used to love as a kid, and it's just a nice thing to see, isn't it?
Yeah,
for sure.
Like Dan was saying, they should all be working in unison. These things, because the Sega Forever account can contribute to whenever they come out with the next mini console, because then it's they all work together like that. I always feel like there's a lack of like working together in these different departments. You've got the Japanese side of things that sort of dictate this, and then you've got the European thing trying to do some nice things, and don't see eye to eye for some reason.
It's been the same story for about 35 years.
Yeah, for
sure.
Sega not getting on. Sega not getting on. Sega Japan and Sega America at odds. Come on, that can't be happening.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Sega Forever. Hopefully, we get some news soon about Sega Forever, and hopefully, Danny will also do some more amazing stuff. So as we shared before, and Refsig mentioned that, I think Dan mentioned that as well. He just posted, I think last week, he's been at Sega for 7 years and he's not going anywhere. So he seemed positive about his position at Sega. So, and I do trust, it's like one of the very few industry people I can say I trust Danny Russell. Whatever he is doing next, I trust is going Danny Forever. Hashtag Danny Forever. Hashtag save Danny Russell. I don't know. But let's get Danny Russell 4. No, that's another thing. So I'm sure it's going to be great. And he really is passionate about the company, as passionate or even more than we all are. So that's why I say I trust him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Danny for PM. Okay. Or King. Never know.
Hashtag save MartaCon.
Oh, yes. Okay, so thank you guys for sharing your thoughts on this. And that leads us to our final topic for the evening, which is Sonic Superstars, which I think we all have thoughts and feelings about. Apart from, I think, Dan, which shared his thoughts on a video in the SEGAGuys channel. And I saw some of it, but then I thought, no, I don't want to spoil this for myself. I want to hear it during the show. So, but apart from that, I don't really know what you guys thought about the game. We haven't spoken about this before. So yeah, Lime, let's start with you. What are your feelings about Sonic Superstars? As I share some amazing footage of an unknown gamer playing the game.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you don't die.
I probably did.
Who is playing? Is it you?
No, please don't focus on the gameplay. Focus on your thoughts on the game.
Yeah. Thoughts about the game. I absolutely loved the game and I refunded it. There we go. Maybe I should explain why.
Yes, and maybe you should explain that you bought it afterwards again. So
yeah, I was gonna get to that. So the thing is, I got Sonic Superstars on release day on PC, and I was so excited for it. Like, it looks amazing. It controls amazing. But then I started like seeing lots of bugs with the version, and I got so disappointed. Like, come on. Like, basic things didn't work. Like, the spin dash didn't charge up like it should. Like, I kept pressing that button, and like only like a few of the times it would register. And when I got a Chaos Emerald, it showed as if I had every Chaos Emerald, but I didn't. And then I heard, like, I was streaming, so people in chat told me, like, well, I'm using I'm playing this on another platform and I don't have the same problems there. So I was like, okay, I have a window now to just like refund the game from the PC and just like get it on another console instead. And so I did that, and I didn't have those problems anymore. Like, the spin dash works, and then I could actually enjoy the game for what it was. And I mean, it's an amazing game. I absolutely loved it. It had that level of creativity that I so crave sometimes. Like, gives you these surprising new things. I'm not sure what I I am allowed to mention.
So I thought we should do this like fairly spoiler free, but I don't want to like tell you guys to not talk about things that you want to. So instead, let's do a little spoiler warning, spoiler alert. So this is for people watching the stream right now. There's a spoiler alert at the bottom of the screen. So while we will be talking about this, there will be this spoiler alert. For people listening, spoilers start maybe now or maybe not. So listen at your own risk. And yeah. So I thought,
what did you feel like when
nice.
Tails died, Lion?
Whoa. My God.
Do tell. You left at Tails for dying?
But, what? Tails is like my favorite character. I would never do anything to harm my homie. Not at all. But yeah, but there was like one specific part that had me just going, well done, Sonic Team. This was a very good idea. It took me very much by surprise. It made me just go like, what? And that's when you reach the second act of the last stage in this story mode, and they just freaking rewind a whole stage.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely amazing. I had so much fun with that, and it challenges me. There are challenges in this game. Like, it's difficult. Finally, I feel like I could like beat just the story, not just 100% it, and feel like I have accomplished something now. I really like the fact that I need to like retry like bosses several times to go like, oh, I'm gonna make this, and then you get to the very last parts, and your heart starts beating faster because you're like, oh, come on, I'm so close now. Like, that's the experience that I want, and that's what I got, and I am very happy for that very much.
Okay, that actually took me by surprise a little bit. I thought you had
Difficulty.
no. The Lime's thoughts on the game. I thought he would be less positive than, because I shielded myself from watching him play Sonic Superstars because I knew we were going to talk about this today. So I didn't want to spoil that for myself.
I was surprised.
one thing, like a negative thing, that is like an absolutely, to me, baffling, unforgivable mistake that I do not understand at all. That's one thing, though.
Okay.
Again, this I'm gonna try like talking about this in like the less spoily way that I can.
Mm-hmm.
There is a boss fight where you will be losing rings if you dash, and so you don't want you want to be very careful pressing that dash button, and like only use it like very sparingly, because otherwise you're gonna lose rings and you're gonna die. And so the game teaches you to only use that button when you really need it, and when you have the least rings, then you really don't want to use it. And then there comes a certain point where you're supposed to press that button when you have like at least I had like very, very small amount of rings. So now I'm the least likely to press the button. The game doesn't tell you that this button suddenly does a completely different move. It just like switches that, and you're just supposed to figure out that now that button does something else, but you're less likely now to try that because the game has taught you that you don't want to use that,
Yeah.
that button when you have so little rings. So it's like game design wise here, like game design is about teaching the gamer
Okay.
what they need to do. This is the opposite of that. It teaches you like to not do the thing that you need to do. And I'm like, why is this a thing? Like, what? Like, at least have like an image of the button, like telling me that something has happened. Like, why
Okay.
is this? Like, don't just switch on me like that.
Especially
It's
when it's
baffling to
7
me.
minutes in,
Yeah,
7 or 8 minutes to
indeed,
get to that point.
indeed. And when
Are
you
we
die
talking
there, you
about?
need to redo the
I
whole
think
thing.
we have the spoiler alert because I'm failing to remember that. Is it like
I don't think I've got this far yet.
Yeah, this
Is
is
it
last
the
story.
last of the last? Okay. Haven't got to
Yep.
that. So spoilers, right? Spoilers, right? So, yeah,
Yep.
spoilers over here.
Like, I'm not saying
I
what the
just
story
completed.
is. I'm
I
not
just finished
saying like
Trip story. I haven't played the last
yeah.
story yet, so yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to like
Okay.
not give too many context clues here. I'm just like trying to talk about what is relevant here, and that is the gameplay, what the game teaches you, what you should do, and how it just like switches that on you without even telling you that you should do that, and just like going absolute opposite what it just has taught you to do. I'm so baffled by that.
Okay.
In a good way,
other
though.
than that,
Weren't you saying that was a good thing?
no, I think
Or is
that
that
was the
negative?
only bad thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No. That is a baffled thing in an extremely bad way. Actually, it's
Okay.
I do not understand why they would teach you something and then just like go against what they've just taught you without telling you that anything is different. It's I don't understand that.
Okay.
But overall, I absolutely love the game. The music had me singing and dancing on stream, like, and actually just like yelling out in joy, because I enjoyed the music so much. I'm like, this is so freaking awesome. So yeah, I am play the game.
High
Play
praise.
the game.
High praise.
Indeed.
Very good.
Once I switched from what was the, to me, buggy version of PC, like your mileage may vary, but on my platform, and I know that other people had this experience as well on PC, like the basic things not even working, and I'm like, come on, can't I just get one title where they don't do this?
Come on, Sunny Team, get your act together.
Indeed.
I didn't experience any of that playing on PC on my Steam Deck, granted, but didn't really experience any kind of like game breaking bugs or anything. So yeah.
Did you still have to log into EGS, Casey, on Steam Deck?
At the before they patched it, yes. Yeah, into the Epic Games account. Yeah.
They patched that away. Oh, I see. I thought
yeah. You just because it didn't make sense, right? You don't want to.
No,
if you
no.
just
Like,
want to play
they're
the
going with this.
single player mode. You don't need to log into your account. That's only
an Epic
something
Games
that you can.
Store exclusive.
I think that's the platform they're using for the multiplayer. Like the infrastructure is based off the Epic Games online infrastructure. Maybe the servers, I don't know. So you do need an Epic Games account to play online, the multiplayer mode. But you don't really need there. It makes no sense to make you log into your account every time you boot up the game if you're just going to play offline, right? Doesn't make sense.
Was there thousands of people complaining about that? Or
yeah.
changed?
And people like refunding the game because of that and stuff.
Really?
Like, too much, but okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I to be honest, I found that whole EGS and Denuvo side of things really kind of it's pretty disappointing from Sega, if I'm honest. I don't know why they insist on having Denuvo in everything on PC, and then to tie it into EGS as well. It's just asking for trouble. So, and I imagine that's probably linked to a lot of Lime's issues. It's just quite disappointing. We'll come on to my thoughts later, but I just wanted to say that.
No,
about
you can actually do it
BGS
now,
stuff.
Dan. Feel free to share.
Go.
You can
So
Sonic in the background.
Please, please do. You have our full attention.
What did I think? Well, when I first did my impressions, I played it for a few hours in the evening and captured a bit of footage and put it on the channel. And my initial thoughts were, this is good. It's a nice, solid Sonic game. The music's, I thought the music was hit or miss. I wasn't keen on the visual style, and I just thought, it's good. It's it plays fantastic. It just needs a bit more to be a bit more adventurous in the level design, and that was based off the first 3 zones.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to the 4th zone, and the game transformed for me. And I was thought, well, there's only going to be 7 zones, and there was a few more than that. And to just kind of echo what Lime said, the game just kept surprising me, and these fantastic ideas and touches and zone ideas, and more I just found myself falling in love with the game. I actually put something out saying that I love this more than Sonic Mania, just because it feels so fresh. I think now with Mania, obviously it's a fantastic game, but there's a lot of it's a very nostalgic game. There's a lot of old content in there, and sometimes if I want to play a game that's got the Hydrosity zone in it, I'll play Sonic 3. If I want to play Chemical Plant zone, I'll go to Sonic 2. But this offers all new things. This is all new content, and it gets a lot of stick for the bosses. And to be honest, I got a little bit frustrated. But the more I played them, the more I found, well, it's not the bosses. Yes, they're long, but it's me. Their attack patterns you can spot and understand, and then you slowly get better. And it just made the payoff when you finally beat them just so rewarding. And it just seemed like the more I played it, the more everything seemed to click. Even the music, which I was kind of torn on first of all, just really started to grow on me, because I like T. Lope's music. I wasn't a fan of Jun's kind of Sonic 4 style songs, but the more I listened to them, the more I enjoyed them, and it just hit everywhere correctly for me, and it just feels like one of the best 2D Sonic games I played. I sunk something like 24 hours into it in the space of a week. In the end, I loved it that much and couldn't put it down. I think the only criticisms I'd have about it are, one, that final segment in the last boss, which Lion was mentioning, and the visual style again still seems a little bit bland, a little bit safe. It feels like the new Super Mario Brothers of the Sonic universe. It's new Super Mario Brothers looks when what we should have had was kind of a Wonder looking game, but or even the version I got came with the character skins that gave it like that anime cell shaded look, and I thought, if the game looked like this, it would have been perfect. But those small niggles aside, I absolutely adored it, and been going back to it almost daily, just unlocking. When I was collecting the coins, for example, I thought this is just a little pointless little exercise, and then I got I know we've got the spoiler sign on, but the cyber stage, and I was like, oh my god, this is like Nirvana for me. This stage is perfect. and the boss in that, I don't know if everyone's aware, but the boss in that takes the form of your kind of multiplayer avatar that you build using the coins.
Yeah. I noticed that when playing through
does it?
Trip
I never
Story,
built
actually.
anything.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
So then I just became hooked on playing that zone again, and then collecting coins, and then fighting different things over and over. I was like fighting Metal Sonic and all sorts, and it's just amazing. And I just find I think I'm just going to keep going back to this for years to come. It's just astounding, and I just found some of the critical reception to it a little bit unfair. I think it's absolutely top notch. I really do, and hopefully in time, I think people will come to appreciate it a bit more.
Yeah.
You mentioned the music, and like the thing that I would like to add to that is that I feel that the music is very uneven when it comes to like style / quality, because like you have those stages that are like straight up like Sonic 4 style music, and then you get other stages where there's like a completely different tone and quality to the music, and I feel like uneven thing, and I kind of feel like with this graphical art style that it is, I really don't feel like a Sonic 4 style music fits here. Like it fit in Sonic 4 in my opinion, but with this style, like it tries to like give that kind of retro feeling to something that isn't that retro. I don't feel there's a fit there for me.
Yeah, I think Refsig just mentioned this, and I was going to talk about this as well. It's because there's tons of composers across the soundtrack. So usually,
yeah.
right?
I mean,
and they
there
probably
are
didn't
several
all get the
projects where
same
that's the
memo
case too.
or any memo at all, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
do
And
something
exactly like
for Sonic
you need a
Superstars.
director, or you need like to talk about what style you need to do in that case.
Yeah.
Like there are several projects where they have several composers and they make it work because like they probably communicate to each other like about what style to do. So like
I feel like that's the
something
main issue here is like lack of communication and lack of like a direction, common direction to that everyone was following. I don't mind the June tracks that much. I find that we are probably more critical of those because of like the drum kit sound.
The Sonic
That is-
I feel the drum kit is a big part of it.
On the
yes.
Mega Drive, we had like it wasn't really that clear, that clean. That's why we love the sound of those drums. But now that we have like a much crispier and cleaner version of that drum sound, it doesn't sound as good. It's not like the sound that
this
we
is what
remember and love from back in the day. I think that's the issue.
Like back in the day, they were like making the best out of what they have.
Yeah.
Now they are dumbing it down. Like that's the difference. Like you can like that's what They're not making the best of what they have now. They're trying to dumb it down to make it sound like when they did the best that they could.
They're catchy, and I'm with Dan. At first, I really didn't care too much for them, but as I played through the game and repeated the stages and stuff, they grew on me. So, and they are really catchy.
I think it was like Sonic 4 PTSD for me. As soon as that, I think it's like the first boss you get to and you hear that drum go, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake. But then the more I played it, I don't think the music, for me, I didn't find the music as inconsistent. I thought that every theme in the game was appropriate for the stage or area that it was representing, even the boss themes. And that's why the boss themes, once I'd got over that Sonic 4 sound, they actually grew on me an awful lot. And everything seemed to make sense a lot more in the way that it was utilized. It is quite an odd game. It's brand new, but it still references a lot of old Sonic stuff. You know, it's completely new themes and stages, but then you've got a hydrosity sound jingle in the water stage. You've got things like tail style floating around.
Thank you. You noticed that too. I said that on stream, and Chad was like, "No, I don't hear it," but I'm listen to it.
It's very brief.
Is there?
We have the rabbit as well, which is nice.
Nice,
really nice. So just before we asked James what his thoughts on the game were. I was going to mention something that I just forgot. I'm old. Oh, yeah. The rings. The rings. One thing that I found interesting is that you have loads and loads and tons of rings in this game, right? So you are never really out of rings apart from like the boss battles and some specific moments. You don't have a live system, so you have unlimited lives. Whenever you collect 100 rings, you get medals instead of lives, which is like a bit reminiscent of Sonic Origins. And I'm down for that. I really appreciated having like that feeling of every time you do something like turn on a switch or a couple of switches or turn over some panels, you unlock something and you get more rings and like 10, 20, 30 rings at one point at the same time. I think that's interesting. It's different from what we're used to in a Sonic game, but I really enjoyed that. the experience, the thrill of getting a lot of rings and losing them quite often as well, as I'm sure this footage can.
You're on 150 rings.
Almost.
now,
I'm gonna
so-
lose them probably, in
Oh,
a few
no.
seconds, but okay.
Poor Casey.
So James, thoughts on Sonic Superstars?
Yeah, so I think similar to Dan, like when I first started playing the game, I could hear, like I'd seen it mentioned before, like the Sonic 4 comparisons and the art style and, like the soundtrack and stuff like that. I was feeling that a little bit. I was like, I struggled to get into it at first. Although I really enjoy the bridge zone as the first stage. I think it's a really cool introduction to the game. It's like very Green Hill vibes, but it's got quite a lot of unique gimmicks, and that was like kind of one of my. I don't know if it's a positive or a negative. For me, I'm probably steering a little bit more in the negative aspect that there's so many stage gimmicks, and I told you, Casey, to record some footage of.
Oh yeah.
Was it the golden?
Yeah.
This the stage.
Golden Capital Zone.
Golden Capital, right? So the best stage for me was the carnival stage, the pinball carnival. I love that. I love the carnival, the casino vibes from Sonic 2. Every time that they sort of have those.
Don't mind me trying to hit that flipper and failing. Yes,
those casino type stages in Sonic games. I love them. So then when I got to the Golden Capital, I was like, they're reusing a lot of these things again. Kind of felt like really out of place, and I don't know if you're going to get to it eventually, Casey, if you can get up there, but I just felt like as the stages went on, I started to forget the stages that had come before it, just because there's so many gimmicks that I was like, well, what stage was what? Because you've got all these things going on, like I say, you've got that pinball introduction to the stage, and then you've got these weird climby block things that you've seen in all the Sonic games. Like they've taken elements from like all of the Sonic games and sort of mishmashed them together. So in a moment in the stage, it goes from all that to sort of like a Mr. Driller segment where you're drilling through the floor, and then you come out of that section, and then there's like a thing that you stand on, and Sonic goes to the back platform, and it's kind of like Tiny Sonic in a sense. The way that plays,
it's like in the background. Yeah,
and then you come out of there, and I think it might be like Act 2. There's like a rocket, and then there's like a train segment, and then there's like these electric beam things where Sonic's going over here, and I felt like that could be a positive for the game because it's so unique. But for me, it was kind of like a negative because it was like it was so stop-starty, and like I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this gimmick. And in a Sonic game, especially something like Sonic 2, where you can like dash through an act in like 2 minutes and it feels amazing. It feels like they've planned it out perfect, that you can bounce on this enemy, and you see these speedrunners, they've got it down to a T. I worry for a speedrunner. I'd love to see one playing this game because just getting up this thing is a struggle for you, Casey. Do you know what I mean? There's stuff in the way. It's like, how can you plan out a route?
I'm getting frustrated just from watching this. Sorry, James.
When you've got all these gimmicks like thrown at you constantly. But again, is that a positive? Because it's like it makes this game stand out from the rest. And I was trying to think, if I'd never played a game like Sonic 3 and someone handed me Sonic 3 and I played it, would I have the same feeling? Is it like an age thing? Is it like, would I think like, this act it's got all these gimmicks as I kind of do here? I don't know if it's because those classic Sonic games are so, you can play them like the back of your hand kind of thing. Whereas this is an all new experience.
That's a good point. That's a good question. Yeah.
And I did find when I got to Trip's story and I was playing for the stages again, then things did start to click. So I think it is that sort of like initial shock of having such a unique Sonic game that's trying to be classic Sonic, but it's trying to incorporate a million different things to try and keep it fresh. I know Dan mentioned like that as a positive, like it feels like a fresh Sonic game, and I think it does take a bit of time for an old school Sonic fan who you know the original games like the back of your hand to sort of get into this brand new experience. And actually, I started to enjoy Trip's story more than I did my first playthrough, because a lot of the things that were like annoying me, like how do I get up here? I'm pinging around here, off there, and then you turn into this, this next stage gimmick, this miniature Sonic kind of vibe. Things start to click.
I agree. This is probably the one zone that I don't get, and the one that I feel the way that you just mentioned.
It's spit all over the place.
I don't really get why. Really?
It's your favorite zone?
Because I think this could be like one act of the Pinball Carnival zone, and I wouldn't mind. But being an entirely different zone with 2 acts, I mean, I like the like sort of magic carpet segment that leads into the boss. One of the boss fights.
Yeah.
Like reminded me of Aladdin on the Mega Drive a lot. But the stage itself is like the flipper situation, the whole rings, lots of rings, which is a plus. I think it's nice, but it feels like this could have been a segment or an act of the Pinball Carnival zone, without needing to be its own separate zone. But it's the one stage that I feel like that about. But yeah, I do understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, and obviously you've also got what feels like each act just takes an age. Again, could be considered positive. Like you've got these longer stages and you've got loads of acts. But when you keep dying and there's like a lot of obstacles towards the end of the game, I was spending like 20 minutes on an act just because it's, the act probably takes 8 minutes to clear it. And if you keep dying, obviously you keep getting reset back to certain aspects. So it took me by surprise, actually, how long the game actually took me to beat on my initial playthrough. I've seen people having like if you go on YouTube and you type in like Sonic Superstars playthrough, and the runtime's like 2 hours 53 minutes, and I'm pretty sure it was like double that for me. So
yeah, I get you. I think one thing that's worth mentioning is this game is easier if you use the powers, the emerald powers. So I don't think this is a spoiler or anything. They've advertised this a lot. So as you collect the Chaos Emeralds in special stages, each emerald unlocks a special power. Right, you have like the one that's been advertised the most, which is like the clone system, the clone power. There's like a rocket one that lets you float in water or like swim through waterfalls or stuff. And I think, especially for boss fights, that's something that I realized with the final boss of the first story mode. It's much easier and quicker if you use the emerald powers. I usually don't or didn't before that. And so, because like I'm used to playing Sonic the regular way, the original way, you just have Sonic and the characters and you just jump or use their like double jump feature or gliding or whatever, and that's it. But when it's like an almost like 10-minute boss fight, it turns into probably 2 or 3 minutes or less if you use the emerald powers. It's just like kind of you have to relearn how to play classic Sonic with this game a bit. That's what I feel, and that's not exactly a bad thing in my opinion.
I like what Lime said, how they don't really tell you some things as well. I know that occasionally you'll get like a prompt, you can use your emerald power here.
Yeah,
but
and if you don't need to select the emerald power there. If you just press the emerald power button,
it's a very neat thing.
When it's
really cool.
it's a
I
really
like
cool
that implementation.
Feature.
but there is a lot of like trial and error. I found in Sonic Superstars, you kind of have to experiment, and that's good in a way because it's there's a lot of like, it gives you a good feeling, like Lime said, when you finally defeat the end boss, because it's such a hard end boss, and I believe there's even an ender boss that I've not got to. But it did make me think like this was the type of game that on the surface I could probably introduce to my daughter, but then I was playing it and I'm dying a lot. I'm like, there's no way a 4-year-old's going to be able to get on with this. I don't think she'll be able to kill Egg Fortress Eggman.
Yeah,
with some practice.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. I think I was listening to the latest episode of the SEGAGuys, and I think, Dan, you mentioned playing with your daughter.
Yeah, I played with my daughter. We only played the first few zones.
How did that go?
And then it went all right. I mean, the thing is, the co-op's not great in it, to be honest, because you kind of, if they fall off screen, they kind of just, you press A and they appear right next to you again. Which was fine for her because she's quite young, so she was just like, "Oh, I press it," and all of a sudden I'm running next to Dad again. The implementation isn't great, but it's fun and it's nice that it's in there. It's not too dissimilar to having Tails running by your side in the Sonic games of old. It could have been better. Obviously, Mario does it pretty well. But it's good enough. As I say, we didn't get onto the tough levels. She did actually die on the first axe boss with the giant shark that comes out. She didn't run fast enough. So it probably isn't the ideal Sonic game for beginners. But I don't know. I'm conflicted on this because it's quite easy to sit here and say, having to relearn stuff and having to go through trial and error to get there, because you do. But then I think, well, it took me absolutely forever to get through Sonic the Hedgehog 2 back in the day. I remember being stuck on Oil Ocean Zone for months and not knowing how the cogs worked in the Metropolis Zone and all that sort of stuff. So, and it's quite hard to say, is this the same thing or is it different? I'm leaning towards saying it's the same thing. It's given us the opportunity to, if you look at Sonic Advance, which I love, but that wasn't an awful lot new. Similar with Sonic Mania, whereas this is, you're kind of having to rethink what you're doing with Sonic here, which I think is a good thing. Things like the zones being quite long, they were, but then I think Sonic Mania was just as guilty of zones. That. Because in all my years of playing Sonic, I'd never got a time over until I played Sonic Mania. What's that last zone called in Sonic Mania? I always get a time over on that one. A Titanic Monarch.
Yeah.
But this one, there's no time. There's no time limit. And
there's no time limit. That's a good shout. Yeah, there.
Yeah, and the infinite lives, I think works as well. I thought it worked in Origins because you either don't have enough lives or you get so many lives that it's just pointless having some. So and for me, when I'm playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I end up with, once you do the special stages, you end up with about 50 lives anyway. Yeah. So I think it can be quite approachable. I think there's that big difficulty spike once you get to the final, especially when you get to the final boss. And you need a lot of patience for that. Obviously, you've got unlimited attempts at it. But it is quite tough. Yeah,
I suppose if you had lives, it would be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Having to restart from the first stage. Imagine.
I'll tell you what. When I was doing Trip Story, though, I had my quick resume on my Xbox failed twice, so I had to go back to the beginning of the act. So that was another 5 minutes on top of getting to the boss.
No.
At least it wasn't the whole game.
No. Oh god, yeah. Can you imagine?
Trip Story definitely is hard mode, right? So, like, and a bit unfair at times, I would say. That's so. I generally speaking like the level design. Some odd decisions here and there, but generally speaking, I do enjoy. I've seen people complain about that. Not really sure if I agree, but Trip Story with the added egg robos here and there.
Where did they learn to shoot so well?
Yeah, and like
Right.
And
they
Solo.
never fail. You have like very limited amount of time to, like, if you get hit, to run away from them, or just evade them. It's very hard, and there are the pitfalls next to those, and it makes it a little bit frustrating at times. But apart from that, I think level design is fairly good and enjoyable.
Yep.
Is
Overall, yeah.
this, however, with all this talk about difficulty and stuff, could this be a game that was made?
Yes.
It is a game that was made. Yes, I agree. I agree. Could this be a game that was made for, like, us, for veteran Sonic players that needed a new challenge and to relearn the game or something?
I don't know what it is about Sonic Team this year. Have you guys all played the Final Horizon for Sonic Frontiers?
Yeah.
Yes.
King Coco's trial can go to hell. I swear to God.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I absolutely hated that update for that trial and the last boss. And I was just like, right, that's done. I'm never touching that again. I don't know what it is about Sonic games and having ultra hard final bosses now. But
I mean, when it comes to that, like, I guess, like, for me, I don't mind that it was difficult. It's just that when it's difficult, it puts a lot more the demands on the gameplay and feedback, like knowing what you need to do. And I feel like that what I had the most difficulty with was to parry, to get those perfect parries. And I feel like for me, I didn't get feedback if I was like too late, too early. I was like, when am I supposed to do this? Like, there are these movements that are like very arbitrary, like when they are going to actually hit. And so I feel like for me, that's where the frustrating difficulty came from, because I didn't know what to do. Like, I don't mind difficulty, but when I'm confused about, because I don't get the feedback that I need to do the difficult thing, then it's Final
Horizons boss fights are a complete mess. That's how I feel about it. You don't get the feedback. I had to go on YouTube, find a guide that said, right, what you have to do is spam the bounce attack, because they're artificially hard, because they remove all your level ups. They put you down to level 1. They put this time limit on there. You still have to do the really monotonous, which is really epic. The boss fights in the base game are my favorite bits. But when you do King Coco's trial and you're having to climb up the Titan's leg again for the 100th time because you got a time over on the Wyvern, it gets really frustrating. And you're like, well, how can I do this faster? And it was really frustrating. I don't know what it is that Sonic Team are doing to make the bosses so hard. However, what I found was that as hard and as long as the boss fights in Superstars was, I found that they were just really fair. There were occasions where at the end, the final egg Robo boss starts swinging his arms out, and that caught me off guard. I was like, oh, what's this now? And the same with Trip's boss, all of a sudden has this attack that they throw at you at the end. But that aside, and the length does make it a bit kind of difficult to get to kind of prepare for it. But it's almost like you can see yourself in a montage. If you recorded all of your attempts, and you slowly start getting better and better and learning from every single mistake. And that's what I found so wonderful. When you finally got that victory, it was like, yes, and it was so satisfying. Whereas with Frontiers, I was like, thank God that's over. I'm never touching it.
It's like for Frontiers, I needed to go to YouTube and, like, frame by frame, check and learn the movements of Wyvern specifically to like get a feel at all for when I needed to parry or not. I should not have to do that. That should be a feedback that is clear from the game. So I felt that's really where they failed for me, at least.
Like turn the game into a Souls game for the DLC.
I think, like you say, the hardness comparison there is it's a good, like, Frontiers as an example of it being just annoying It's you know,
there's a
it's
fair
hard
difficulty and
it's
there's an
annoying.
unfair difficulty.
Yeah.
That's the difference for me.
Whereas
Yeah,
like
you feel
Superstars,
like if
the
you fail, it's
hardness
your
is
fault. not-
enjoyable.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
it is. It is.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you practice, if you learn the boss, the patterns, and for example, I was playing Trip's final boss earlier, and I was just hitting. So not to spoil anything, but you can hit the boss. The first form of that boss is like you have
You
two
can?
ways.
Oh my gosh.
You can.
Wow, that's amazing.
Spoilers.
sorry.
There are two moments when you can hit the boss. I was just hitting the boss in one moment because
Oh,
I was
yeah.
afraid to try. But then I was getting like frustrated. I keep dying, and this is taking too long. Maybe I can like risk hitting it here when it's like charging down. And I can hit it, and it's good. It's like it actually makes it easier. So if you take your
Which boss
time,
was that?
the Trip's final boss, the yeah. So the first form of that boss, you can
Yeah.
hit it in two different moments, and that makes it easier. But you have to try it. That game doesn't really tell you that, obviously.
It's sort of like a cooldown, right? Because I feel like obviously in the original Sonic games, you could just
Oh yeah,
find an exploit
Yeah.
and bounce,
Never mind
bounce,
that.
bounce,
No.
bounce, and defeat it. But here, there's an invincible ability for like 10 seconds after you hit them or something.
yeah. You can hit the bosses like once every
Cycle.
moment they're in a specific place. There's no time to hit them twice usually, bar a few exceptions. But that's fair actually, because that's what happens with you. If you get hit, you get like a few seconds of invincibility, right? So that's kind of fair. I was thinking about this earlier. They made it fairer, but yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to the final boss of the first story mode. The music, it's like Phantasy Star Online 2 music. What's up with that? It's amazing. And Trip's final boss music is also amazing. Not sure if
a spoiler alert. Can we talk about that fantasy?
I was about to say exactly that.
You made me remember it. When
I
you were saying
wanted
about
to.
that.
Yes. So feel
Nice.
free to gush about this, please.
Oh,
I
this,
love
Or no.
Super Fantasy Zone. It's like my favorite Mega Drive game. So when I was trying to compare it a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, the actual gems on the things don't change color when you're hitting them. But other than that, it's like spot on.
Oh, that's true. That's it. Yeah, the color. There's no color change. Yes.
Yeah, but I loved it. As
I don't know why I'm getting hit so much.
entire
I got the
stage
achievement for not getting
dedicated to this. And the funny thing is, like, I guess a lot of the new players to it probably won't even know Fantasy Zone, right? So
Yeah.
in a sense, this is kind of like reusing a little bit of the Sega heritage that we spoke of earlier.
Yeah, like Rafsig is saying, this is like the Puyo throwback in Sonic Mania.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
But more
true.
Sega, right? Like because the Puyo one
It's
was
even
like
better.
Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, so it's technically Sonic. This is definitely pure Sega and not Sonic. And I do love this. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, sorry.
Yeah, I was gushing over it when I got to it. As soon as I saw the bar at the bottom indicating where the enemies were, I knew what it was, and I was just oh my god, it's Fantasy Zone, and I was loving it. And I was like, oh, I'm gutted that's over. And it got to the boss, and then the boss came up. I was like, oh my god! And then the other boss came up.
Yeah.
Oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This boss.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was just completely fanboying out of my mind on it. It was amazing.
I can hear the Fantasy Zone music as I'm watching the footage as well.
Yeah. So definitely this was a highlight, and it actually is a good intermission from the main game, because you were about to enter the final stage, the final zone, which is like more challenging than some of the stuff you've played before, especially that second act when everything is in reverse. But this is a nice intermission. If you're a Sega fan, and again, this is one of the reasons why I think this was a bit made for us, right? For the older Sonic fan, Sega fan that would get the reference. Because, it's
sure.
So that's why. And definitely a highlight for me.
About that. See, when you were talking on Discord about what to talk, oh no, I'm on the spot right now. When you were talking about, what are we going to talk about when it comes to Sonic Superstars? Like, what can we talk about? Spoilers and stuff. And you were talking about the fantasy zone, and I'm like, oh, there's a new Sonic stage that I haven't gotten to yet, like the fantasy zone. Like they're all called zones, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to something. Little did I know that I already had it and I did not get the reference.
Yeah. So Fantasy Zone, definitely a game you should check out. This actually the first stage, definitely more like Super Fantasy Zone, but the first stage of I think most Fantasy Zone games is a bit the same. So, and one thing that even the detail of you would only get the ring, not the coin, but the ring, if you kill like all 3 enemies, right? So just like in Fantasy Zone,
you defeat the boss, loads of rings.
Exactly. That you don't have enough time to collect, just like in the original. So, yeah. Definitely a highlight. Yeah.
Oh, when I forgot I got to the zone, I was like, oh my god, this game just went to a 10 out of 10.
For sure. Yeah. So I think all in all, and I wasn't actually anticipating this at all. I thought we would get like mixed feelings here in this panel, but apparently we're all very positive about this game.
You thought I was gonna trash the game.
I thought so a little bit. Yeah, I thought so. I thought.
Especially
but yeah,
when you're annoyed at the spin dashes and stuff, and then on the same day playing bloody Mario.
Yeah.
That did happen. That did happen. Yes, indeed. Because the game was like so glitchy. I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna refund the game. And so what should I play? I mean, we're going with a Mario game. Yeah, well done, Sonic team. You made me play a Mario game on Sonic Superstars release day. Well done. I was so disappointed. I was so angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all turned out well.
I have a hot take here. Maybe it's not a hot take because this is a Sega podcast, but I'm enjoying Sonic Superstars more than Mario Wonder, which is a brilliant game. I think I know what it is because I prefer the gameplay of a classic Sonic game over the gameplay of a classic Mario game. Don't get me wrong, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I think it's the full title, is a wonderful game. No pun intended. It is fun. It is beautiful. It plays well. It's like those Wonder Seed moments.
It's a very creative idea. I like that idea.
Yeah, it is creative, but the whole, I don't know, it drags on a bit too much, which is funny because we're talking about Sonic Superstars being at times a bit longer than it should be. But I feel like the pacing of Sonic Superstars is more my thing. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And I was a little bit concerned when both games were released on the same week. That and I guess that happened, right? So Wonder probably overshadowed the Superstars a little bit, which is to be expected. But Superstars is more of a KC game than Wonder, I would say.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Superstars is more of a Dan game as well.
Good. But if you enjoy Mario Wonder more than Sonic Superstars, nothing wrong with that. Get out of here. No, just kidding. Yeah. So
nothing wrong with that, but you're not welcome here.
Yeah. But all in all, I think, guys. So if you would have to score this game out of 10, this is never an easy question.
Yeah, for me, it's a solid 9. It's not perfect. It's not as good as the original Mega Drive classics. but it's brilliant, and I think it's probably the closest we've got to the kind of the gameplay, the combination of the gameplay and the creativity of the level design and the whole end-to-end experience. I think it's the closest we've got to that era so far, and just edges out Mania just on the newness of it, because it is a fully new experience. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I say 8. Just, I mean, it's great, and it's getting better the more I play it, but I'm not sure if I would ever consider it a classic game. Like, I would think as fondly about it in 20 years' time as I do about the original Sonic games. But that just could be down to age. I'm not sure. And Mania, I preferred the bonus stage in Mania, the Sega Saturn-esque. The bonus stages in Superstars, not great in my opinion. At first, like you were saying, Casey, because there's loads of rings, I'm a sucker for going into any portal I see, and I was getting a bit sick of that Sonic 1 bonus stage. I felt like I was playing that
Right.
more than I was playing the game.
I'm not really fond of that
with.
either. Yeah,
So,
but
yeah,
it is a thing. Yeah.
I skipped them, and then you've got obviously the swingy Chaos Emerald stages, which are a little bit better, but again,
Yeah, those I like.
not as good as the main ones for me. So yeah, I'd probably give it an 8 overall.
Okay, Lime.
I'm gonna go with a 7. Actually, I
7.
I do love that it has like basically like Sonic Mania level of creativity. Like you do feel that they like it did well when it comes to that. I absolutely love that. Much of the music is awesome. It controls well and it looks beautiful. It's still a little too buggy for me to like get it higher than a 7. Like even on the PS5 that I played it on later, still found myself like suddenly getting to somewhere I was not before on the like where you go through the stages. What do you call it? The
world map.
overworld?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
overworld.
I found myself like getting to the store, and when I came out of the store, I was somewhere completely different. I was like up in the in the space in front of the last stage.
Okay.
And like not in this like the Eggman vehicle. I was suddenly there, and I was like, where do I go from here? So I went left, and I just fell down through the floor and just like fell through infinity, and that was still there. And it's like it's still
a bit buggy,
a bit unfinished when it comes to QA for me to give it like the high score that it would have gotten otherwise. I do feel like the soundtrack is a little uneven. There are like some the choices there that I might not agree with. I don't agree with the Sonic 4 style to that kind of graphical style for me personally. So those things kind of take it down for me.
Okay, fair. I'm torn between an 8 and a 9. I don't think it's quite up there for a 9 yet. I'm like 8.5, 8.5 out of 10. I think it was Dan who said that he sees himself like coming back to this game for years to come, right? I see myself. That was one of my initial thoughts upon reaching maybe halfway of through the first story. I was thinking to myself, this is fun. I'm enjoying myself. It's not exactly a classic Sonic game, which Mania is. Mania is like a 1-to-1, reproduction of the classic games, not just in terms of art style, but even like the way that the characters control. This one feels like what we can expect going forward, and I don't mind, to be honest.
Me neither.
I don't know if
I love that direction.
I think I'm satisfied with having Sonic Mania. I'm not saying I wouldn't love having Sonic Mania 2, but if they're going with something new like this, if they can like tweak it a little bit more, make it even tighter, and keep working on this formula, a little bit like Sonic Frontiers, right? We said this before. It's like the beginning of something new and fresh and interesting and exciting. That's how I feel in terms of 2D Sonic with Sonic Superstars. So I think an 8.5 out of 10. Very close to 9. That's how I feel about this game. I would like to try out the co-op at some point to see how that works as well. But
let's do that together at some point.
Yeah,
I would love
we
to
should.
do that as well.
We should.
All 4 hours.
And but for the meat of the game, like the single player mode, yeah, definitely up there, almost up there with the classics. And I would love it if people who have been watching reviews online or reading stuff and have have been refraining themselves from getting this game, I would love it if people would give it a try and try it for themselves. 'Cause I know this is not for everyone, but probably for more people than it's been advertised. One of the reviews that got a lot of heat was the IGN one, as per usual. And I kind of feel bummed when people review 2D Sonic games and say Sonic is about speed. No, it's not exactly about speed. That's a modern misconception about Sonic, I think. It's about momentum. It's about platforming, like feeling tight controls, and occasionally, you go fast, right? That's true. But it's and that's the thing that happened to me when I try to make it about speed. When I let's just go forward without looking. That's when I suck at the game. So it's not really about speed. It's about momentum. It's about tight controls. And this
It's also about
definitely
exploring. Like there's a lot of exploring
definitely
going on.
There
as
are
well.
usually more than just one path, right? You can. So this is in this game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing about classic Sonic and a good Sonic game is speed isn't something that you have; it's something that you earn. It's something you earn through memorization and understanding the mechanics, the level design, and the physics.
Sure.
It's not something that this misconception that you just hold right and Sonic runs fast is it's completely wrong. You have to earn that speed to get through the levels in record time.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so satisfying as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so go play Sonic Superstars, people. Go play Sonic Superstars. I think that's the message here.
Yeah, indeed.
Yep.
Definitely give it a try.
And with that, no more spoilers. Spoiler alert is gone, right?
So the last boss.
Oh no! So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much for. We've gone over the 2-hour mark as we usually do on these kinds of shows, but it's okay. I think we had a very nice chat about interesting Sega stuff. So instead of doing the usual thing that I do at the end, which is like, where can people find you? People can find you online, and we'll have the links in the show notes. So instead of that, I wanted to ask you, what is something that you've done on your Twitch channel, website, YouTube channel, whatever? What is something that you are very proud of and would like to promote to make people go watch your stuff? So let's go right to left this time. So let's start with Dan. Dan. Sorry to put you on the spot like this.
Oh, okay. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say currently myself and my partner, James the Segaholic, we're working on a review series. So we're going through classic Sega games on a weekly basis, something that we're proud of because hopefully it's nice, bite-sized, enjoyable reviews, introduce fans of Sega games, the classics, and maybe some games that they haven't played. So that's something. We've got a playlist. We've got a new episode every Sega Saturday. So definitely something that I hope people check out.
Excellent. And lots of content on your YouTube channel, right? So do check out the SEGAGuys, people. We also have James Brown. Hello, James. So what is something that you're really proud of?
Really proud of, yeah. On the spot, I'd have to probably say the podcast that we do, the Shimododo Show, we've got just finished editing a brand new episode that's going to be airing on Radio Sega this coming Monday from 8 p.m. And it's actually quite a lengthy one. I think we went over 3 hours. So if you like
Nice pun.
Shenmue and you like listening to a never-ending show, that's probably a good one for you. And it's actually part 2 of a series that we're doing on the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter updates. We're going back through each individual Kickstarter update, and there's 134. And yeah, we managed to get through 30 of them and uncovered some interesting stuff actually that we'd forgotten about and potentially just glossed over at the time. There was one screenshot of something that we saw within a video of Yu Suzuki talking that had us chatting for a little bit about. So yeah, if you're interested at all in that, check that out this coming Monday, and we'll also have a video counterpart going live on Tuesday. And we're actually streaming tomorrow night. So if you're interested in that, it's a day early because it's actually my wedding anniversary is the 4th this week.
Congrats.
So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congrats.
So we're doing it a day
Show
early.
off that
so
ring.
If you want
Show off that ring. Yes. There we go.
9 years.
So shiny.
Yeah. So if you want to celebrate,
Yeah.
Let's Get Shenmue for like Shenmue Day with us, you can join us tomorrow night.
Excellent. That's it. Thank you. And Lime Reversed.
Hello. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I started streaming with what I call my untrusted sidekick Miranda, that started as a random word generator, just putting actually randomizing words into sentences, so you get these hilariously absurd sentences that we just have very fun with, and I react to that and basically have a conversation with the sidekick.
It's a bit like the conversation system in Shenmue.
Oh,
that we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah.
It is.
I see what you mean there. I see what you mean. So lately, I have learned and gotten the know-how to implement an actual AI into Miranda. Miranda has been called an AI of several, from the beginning. Mm-hmm. They're not actually that, but they kind of function as it. But now they actually freaking are.
Oh my God.
AI.
We're all gonna die.
Amazing. So what I have yeah. So how I've implemented right now is that we for those people who opt into this, we save their chat messages sent in my stream. So then on subs or on tips and such, I then have Miranda, the AI part, look through the chat history, and just ask Miranda to give someone a compliment based on that. And it has turned out exactly as I hoped. It actually gives a personalized, generated compliment to someone, and then actually references something that they've actually said a month ago or something. Who knows how long ago? And reminds you said this, and that was hilarious. That made me laugh, or that was very heartwarming. That really shows your dedication to whatever. And it's really, really wholesome, because most of it actually is actually true. That's what they've said, and that was actually a good, wholesome thing that they said. So I absolutely love that we're just generating personalized compliments to people, reminding us about the positive things that we do. And it's so freaking amazing because it feels so real, because they are referencing actual messages that people have written. So that's
excellent.
I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, awesome.
AI stalker.
Yeah, so that's how they lure you in with compliments, and then at the end. Ha! They chop your head off somehow.
Yeah, so people
Twitch.tv
opt in
/live
to do
reversed.
this. So like it doesn't actually save your messages before they opt in. So that's the important part.
You choose to be complimented and to be taken over. Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay, and as for myself, the Sega Lounge, we're here every week. We're into the final stretch of the show, of season 7 of the show. And next week, we'll be back with not a live show, but a pre-recorded one with a very special guest. So if you're like James, appreciated Sonic Symphony, you'll be pleased to know that we have Shota Nakama, the producer and guitarist and the mastermind behind it all, on the show next week with a very interesting talk about Final Fantasy and other non-Sega games, but Dragon Quest. But it's all good because he talks about Sonic as well and Sonic music. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A big special thank you to Dan, who is new around these parts in terms of the live shows.
It was a pleasure to be able to talk to you as well. I don't.
We have spoke before,
had a pleasure before. Have we?
Yeah, we have.
We haven't seen you in that case.
Oh, that's true.
It's the first time I've seen you in that case.
Yeah. And a big shout out to James as well, who is the other half of the Sega Guys. So please go watch the Sega Guys. Or if you're an old timer like me, listen, which is what I usually do. Go scroll back to my International Podcast Day recommendations. You'll find the link. Yeah. Definitely recommend the Sega Guys to everyone who grew up with Sega and wants to reminisce on the good times and, talk about the modern stuff as well. Lime, always a pleasure. Okay.
Same to you.
Always a pleasure. James, this is practically your show now. Thank you.
With Lime.
Yeah, right now, probably.
3 big bosses.
Yeah, so thank you very much for coming. For everyone listening, thank you. Remember to just follow the podcast. If you are listening for the first time, the SegaLounge.com/follow is where you can find all the links to all the podcatchers. Choose the one you like. Do it there. TerraPlayer.com, by the way, is an amazing resource for all of that podcast stuff. So do that. I'm still waiting for my check from Resident SD, hopefully coming in post soon, for all the advertising. And remember, follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Sega Lounge for notifications when we go live with these sort of shows and gameplay sessions. It was a pleasure to be in your company, my good gentleman here.
Feeling is mutual.
Yeah.
Yours too.
Have a great evening, everyone. And the Sega Lounge will be back next week. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. No money till you read the correct copy. Damn you, Resident SD.